Now to 2012 politics. President Obama's busy fundraising schedule appears to be paying off. The Obama campaign announced today that combined with the Democratic National Committee, it raised $86 million over the last 3 months. That record-breaking total leaves his Republican competitors in the dust. As we reported last week, the entire GOP field combined raised a total of $35 to $40 million. Here now to help us go inside the numbers is NewsHour political editor David Chalian. David, welcome back. How does the president's fundraising measure up?
Well, you got to call a win, right? I mean, it is a record-breaking number, as you said, that $86 million. But notice how the campaign is putting it out there in this top line. They want to show that combined DNC and Obama campaign number because those are the kind of events, combined events, that the president's been doing, where they invite a donor to donate both the maximum amount, $5,000, to the campaign, and the maximum amount north of $30,000 to the DNC, and that's why they like that big total. But listen, this is the power of incumbency. I mean, you would anticipate that the incumbent president is going to be able to fill ballrooms and raise more money than these challengers.
So let's compare this apples to apples. The last incumbent president who was trying to raise money for a re-election campaign, George W. Bush, 2003, how did he do compared to this?
So that's the record that they were trying to break. If you look at what Bush-Cheney re-election campaign combined with the RNC did at this time in 2003, that was around $60 million. That's why the Obama campaign set a public goal of a combined $60 million. Of course, you only set goals to exceed them in this game. So everybody expected them to come in north of that. However, I will say, to compare apples to apples again, as you say, George W. Bush, as the incumbent president in the third quarter of 2003, just for his campaign, not combined with the RNC, raised $50 million. As you just said, President Obama, just for his campaign, raised $47 million. So he has not broken the sort of single quarter fundraising for an incumbent president for their campaign.
You sat here last week, David, and you talked about how the Republican totals had not quite lived up to expectations, at least their own expectations, as far as we know, because there's still some out there. Does this prove that the economy was really lagging, which is what some Republican hopefuls have been saying, when the president can raise this much money from this many people?
You know, the president's campaign manager, Jim Messina, was asked exactly that, about what kind of effect is the sort of downturn in the economy having on this fundraising. And he said, no, it didn't have too much an effect. But of course, the entire focus of the campaign rolling out this number is to try to show some enthusiasm at the grassroots level. They want to have it both ways, Gwen. They want to post a big record-breaking fundraising number, but they don't want to sort of own up to the fact that a lot of that are high-dollar donors, people bundling a lot of money together.
And we don't know yet how many of those there are.
We don't get that exact breakdown until that 15,000-page report gets filed on Friday.
But what they do want us to know is about how many small donors they have. So to break that down.
Right. So take a look at some of these metrics that they put out there today about their fundraising. 552,000 individual donors gave over the last 3 months. 260,000 of those are new donors, did not donate to the campaign last time around. The campaign is very excited that there are hundreds of thousands of new people coming into the process. 98% of their contributions, $250 or less, and that the average contribution was $69. But Gwen, when you look at that 98% of contributions, $250 or less, we don't know what percentage of the raw dollars came from those kind of small donations. They're being very careful about their
That 2% can be a lot.
Exactly. Those could be really high rollers. And there's no doubt that this first fundraising quarter, this is where you get that low-hanging fruit. And so there's no doubt that the big money folks will sort of dominate this.
One of the things the Democrats made the point of today was saying, even though we've raised all this money, this is a way to get people to keep writing checks, we're nothing compared to the outside groups the Republicans are going to bring in to raise lots of money on their behalf. Accept that for a moment. Aren't the Democrats doing the same thing this time?
There's no doubt about it. They said that they're expecting $500 million worth of attack ads from outside Republican allied groups, and that they demand disclosure about where those donors are coming, these shady outside groups. But of course, they completely ignore the fact that Barack Obama's own Deputy White House Press Secretary Bill Burton has left the White House and set up such an outside group to help his re-election campaign and fight back against these Republican attacks from the outside.
And aside from unions who have been raising mostly for Democratic candidates.
Well, right. You can raise from corporations, unions, unlimited now after Citizens United. So
And these other outside groups, I'm just very curious about whether they are now splitting their support among all these Republicans who are running now. There are so many in the race, whereas all the outside Democratic groups are going to one guy.
Well, that's a great question, because that's also part of his advantage, right? He doesn't have a primary, the president, and so all this money that he has raised and put out there today, this is all to build an infrastructure and an organization and prepare to defend against attacks in this next year before he's in a one-on-one race with somebody. On the Republican side, right now, those outside groups are spending their money attacking the president, right? They will get behind the Republican nominee, which is why no matter how much a big fundraising win this quarter is for the president, the Republican nominee, nor President Obama, is not going to win or lose this election based on how much money they won.
David Chalian, as always, thank you.
Sure.